Lex Luthor has Superman trapped. He's using kryptonite to destroy his powers.
Now you'll tell me why Superman peanut butter tastes so great.
Never. So fresh roasted, so creamy, so yummy.
Then its secret will be mine, all mine. Yay! Foiled again! Just wait, Superman. I'll find out.
Superman peanut butter. Its strength is its great taste.
This broadcast is intended for
Space Ghost, 15 seconds till showtime.
AV broadcast, or retransmission. With express
Get ready for a power trip.
But then soon we overcame them all. One by one, side by side, we gave each other love that's real and everlasting. Real love. We've come a long way.
All right. Well, are you ready to be in simulation, in character?
I believe so. in what
all right.
in what manner?
Just to separate pre-recording persona from in recording, because just like Clark Kent and Superman, we're always putting up a front, an illusion, and what we present isn't always what's inside. And sometimes what you present is kind-hearted superhero and a symbol of peace, and what you are inside is an alien despot who wants to make harems and conquer and have bad haircuts and make monkeys post rage bait. That's the message of Superman. Breaker. This is our review of Superman. I'm Striker Star Tommy. I forget if that's how I introduce myself on these. And I'm here with Martin again after, I think, the logical step. We reviewed the Frasier reboot together, and we reviewed the X-Men reboot together. And I think the logical step after that is the new Superman that you might have heard is sweeping the nation and out and about. Directed and written and largely created by Mr. James Gunn, former Marvel collaborator and full-time Peacemaker self-insert. He put out this new Superman movie, which we both saw. I thought, I am super anxious to get this all out and going, and I have not given you a chance to speak yet. How would you like to start this off?
I think you should go first, because we both saw it at the same time, and we had differing views.
We had differing. I guess the thing I'm nervous to admit that I'm like prattling a bunch is that the first time, to be clear, I watched this movie, I didn't like it. And that came as a huge blow because Superman is like my guy. He's like, I think if you asked me who my favorite character is, I would just say Superman. I was like tempering my expectations all throughout. I thought the trailers for this looked pretty great. I was just like trying to like, okay, but it's also like the first of a new universe. It's balancing with a lot. It's kind of in this really intense war of attrition with Marvel, I almost feel, in that both DC and Marvel are in really, really tough spots. They've had a slew of diminishing returns and tough, they're kind of fighting an uphill battle as like Thunderbolts underperforms and the DCEU kind of has a quiet death rattle in its corner, and they're like, all right, hey, this summer, Superman and Fantastic Four. The purest, like, vanilla milkshake of superheroes you could ask for. And if you don't want this, it might be time to pack it in. And so a lot was riding on both of these releases, competing. Even though I haven't noticed the fandoms like actually pitting them against each other on a good note. I do feel like there's a lot riding on how much, and I think they're both going to come out okay by the looks of it. But this was just a loaded release. It's like, oh boy, a whole new version of a bunch of my favorite characters I'm just getting dropped into, and I was so fucking overwhelmed the first time I watched this movie. I want to also clarify that I saw it a second time to give it as fair a shake as possible before we recorded this, because I thought this would be a good enough event piece to record with you on, but I kind of didn't want to do that if I was just going to be grumpy. And I did like it, I'd say, a significant amount more that second viewing. And I wouldn't change my mind about my grievances or my complaints, but the things I like about it are much easier to enjoy. It is a movie with so much fucking going on, and I think it's easy just to get really lost and kind of, it's, I think watching this movie for the first time did feel like Superman in the pocket dimension when he's like drowning in a river of CGI cubes and just very overwhelmed. And I was just like pulling shit off of myself and trying to regain my footing. And after like collecting my thoughts and knowing, going in for a second viewing, it was like I can tune out this thing I don't like and really not let it distract me from aspects I do like. And I think it is above all else, it is a sensationally cast film. I think it is has some of the best superhero character performances in a long time, and being able to just cue into those characters and their performances that we'll get into did wonders for my opinion of it. So I'm ultimately positive as we talk about it now. And even when I wasn't in love with the movie itself, I was pretty much all in on James Gunn's interpretation of the DC universe, because I was like, oh, I'm kind of excited to see where he takes this character and that character. So it was never a poisoned well. It just took me a second to, really stand on 2 feet with how I was feeling about this one.
Did you have huge high hopes for it before you went to see it? I can't remember what your pre-Superman hype level was.
I think I was almost feeling a bit, I think the term I keep coming back to is gun shy, no pun intended. I think I was kind of like, there was a voice in my head where I'm like, if they slam dunk this, there's no way it's not like my favorite thing ever. Mm-hmm. But I think that those high hope, but then I was also like constantly kind of undermining myself. I was like, okay, but just be prepared for the fact that it might not be your ideal Superman. And I think that's also a mistake I made, where I was looking for those small things to not like, to kind of, prove myself correct in some way, that, just because it's Superman doesn't mean I'll love it. So I was really second guessing and I just feel deeply, just as a moviegoer and as a fan of movies, and on my more pretentious side, I'm deeply, deeply jaded by superhero media. I feel like I'm contradicting myself saying I love Superman, but feel very jaded by the concept of a Superman movie, because my sweeping generalization in broad strokes, with a grain of salt, don't take this super literally, viewers, is that I feel almost any superhero media would net benefit from being animated. And there were depictions and moments in this where I was like, no matter what, this is going to be another live-action Superman, where it feels a little MCU-ish, and it ultimately doesn't. I guess that's a super long answer, and as you can tell, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think my ultimate fear was, how am I going to delineate my favorite things about Superman and all the other versions I love about it from this weird, war we've been fighting against samey film? And I think that's something I got super caught in the weeds of when there's a lot to love about this movie.
We live in a time of uneven, underwhelming, oversaturated tripe. And that's not exclusive to superhero movies, but it's... No. Well, maybe it is. Maybe that is the way.
Well, I mean, I think if you consider like Jurassic Park a big quotation mark superhero movie, and you consider, I don't know, Freaky or Friday a big quotation, which is not about superheroes in any stretch, but is kind of coming off that same franchise. Oh, it's the actor you know thing.
Yeah.
Which, and again, just to be clear up front, this movie doesn't necessarily... I was expecting this movie to do some, like, wacky Olive Branch fandom bullshit that we'll get into, but they show some restraint there. I guess I'd also say this, is that, did you see Thunderbolts?
No.
That didn't come through, I'm sorry.
Oh, I said no.
I haven't either, so that's my statement up front. Okay. I just had this, like, and the way people were talking about it, it sounded a bit like, well, you know, and I'm like, sure, it's fine. But, like, it just struck me as, like, we've been kicked in the balls so many times that a light slap in the face feels pretty good. And, like, nothing I've heard about that movie actually sounds, like, outstanding. And when people get I think when people get really, really, really pumped about a superhero thing, I'm almost like, is it actually, like, great? Or are we in Stockholm Syndrome? Are we just so happy that we're not being fed complete garbage again? You've seen Fantastic Four as we record this. I'm seeing it later today after... So this video will be out after I post my thoughts on Fantastic Four, but I haven't seen it yet. And I kind of get a similar vibe where there are people ecstatic about it. And I can't help but wonder if that's just because it's not a complete insult, the way things like, I don't know, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness rubs some viewers, myself included.
I think, certainly for me, I am a person who, when he goes to see a superhero stroke comic book movie, wants the movie to feel like a comic book.
Yeah.
And I feel like the MCU has not felt like that for a very long time for me. I will say I enjoyed Fantastic Four because it bucked that trend and it did feel like a comic book movie. And I felt the same about this. And I think one note was that it just felt a bit more... I don't know how to describe it, but it had that sort of quintessential sort of old-timey comic book positivity to it, where it was a bit more colourful.
Superman or Fantastic Four?
Both had the same vibe. And I guess that's Fantastic Four is about them being a cheerful, wholesome family, and Superman is a cheerful, wholesome character. So it felt
absolutely.
a mesh. It would be a good double bill of superhero movies, I think. So I saw Superman before I saw Fantastic Four. I don't know which one I would say I preferred.
Really? Okay.
Fantastic Four was... I love a quiet film. I love a film that hasn't got too much going on. Superman had a lot going on. And Fantastic Four, to its credit, was very condensed and very focused on, I would say, like 6 characters. And
interesting.
Superman has 5,000 characters.
Well, I think it says a lot that Fantastic Four has that focused reputation and still kind of made headlines for cutting a relatively major actor from a small part. I'm still kind of grieving the Red Ghost cut.
I honestly, I've seen people say, "Oh, it's very obvious that a large portion has been cut out of the movie." I don't think so. I can't imagine where it would have fit. Was anything cut out of Superman? Do we know? Was there anything else meant for this movie?
If there is, I'm sure James Gunn has spoken about it extensively in a string of tweets. And I think another thing that, like, vaguely annoyed me about it is that we just know so much about the production of this movie because, and I have nothing, I'm not a weirdo who has like a weird hate for James Gunn as like much as he can kind of frustrate me. There's just like the way he just walks us through every edit and the way he's like, do you see this shot in the trailer? I actually cut it because people didn't like it. And I'm like, don't tell us that. I think our movie watching experience a bit has been tainted by just knowing so much going in. And we can kind of see the seams. And I don't always love that feeling. As much as I love trivia and talking about like film, I think that's way more interesting years after the fact than when you go in fresh for the first time.
I think to a certain extent, in his defense there, he was probably under a lot of pressure to continuously hype it up because they knew they'd made such a disaster of the last couple of years. They were like, keep hyping people up. You need to keep talking about it. Nobody even knew that Aquaman 2 came out. So I think they must have just pressured it to keep saying stuff and keep trying to get people to become invested in it.
I think that's a very fair assessment. And I think they did, as for all the shit I talk, they made a really good choice picking a front man who was good at kind of having that PR relationship. He's open to doing that in the first place.
Yeah. Because
the more you line that up, I do think that makes a lot of sense that they needed someone to kind of repair that bridge. I want to also not minimize that he had probably a Herculean task on his shoulders of taking a universe that's been like soft rebooted and retconned and had pieces taken out and had characters changed into another continuity about 6 times and like getting it to a place that makes sense. And he kind of does that by eschewing an origin stage that was wise on his part, even if like something we disagreed on when we first watched. I found myself kind of missing some of the origin beats of Superman. Whereas, you know, when you think about why James Gunn would do that, it makes total sense that it's like he's in this reboot phase. He has, again, this like indomitable task of reintroducing these characters whose origins, to be fair, a lot of people intellectually know. I think, again, it was just like, you know, it's very shaking and abrasive that like the first date between Clark Kent and Lois Lane we see in this universe is like a fight. And it is one of the best scenes of the movie. It is extremely well done.
You have to say off the record beforehand, not after.
Why are you being like this?
It's fine. I won't write that you spend your spare time trying to think up sound bites.
A lot of people point out that James Gunn's history as a man plagued by divorce really comes through in it. Which I don't say disparagingly, but it is a life experience I think he brings to a lot of his characters. But it was also like, this is amazing. I wish I saw when these two really liked each other, and we get there, but it was just hard to like sit down and ingratiate yourself to right away. And that's where a lot of my early feelings were coming from. We're just like, oh, I'm here. This kind of feels like Superman 2 or 3 already, you know?
Yeah, I think he just, there was no time to waste. And I think that was more of a testament to the colossal blunders that had been made before he came along. If that was the first movie, I think absolutely he would have done an origin story. I think he was cursed with everything that had happened before. Like what a like, as you say, a Herculean task to just come in and take over. And I think he broached it in the best possible way. For what he did. He probably could have gotten away with an origin film, but I feel like people would have been a bit tired.
Well, and I also feel that like this movie is 2 hours 10 minutes. I know people would probably gnaw my head off if I advocated for a longer superhero movie, but like if you stretched it to 2.5 hours, it would have not been outlandish, and you could have just like Clark's first day at the Daily Planet, just get that in for 10 or so minutes. I don't know if it would have been. But on the other hand, the more I say it, I could see, it's like that's not committing to, that's compromising, I guess I would say. And this film is telling a stretch of time in a way that is refreshing. I guess it kind of, I don't know if we should like do a plot. I almost feel like we should just go character by character as opposed to like plot synopsis, because there's so many, and I think they all really live and die and sing by their actor of choice. I don't know if you had something else in mind.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, in terms of the plot, you can condense the plot, I think, into Lex Luthor wants to kill Superman, stroke. Superman struggles with his public image and his identity. There's the plot. And that's the very basic summary of the plot. Oh, also, the bad guy is Benjamin Netanyahu. There's some subtle political commentary as well.
Yeah. And Guy Gardner goes to a restaurant for a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. I don't know what he's got going on. I think, I guess then it makes sense to talk about Superman himself, first and foremost, played by David Cornsweet. He was,
Is that how his name is said?
Oh, I'm sorry?
Is it David Cornsweet? Is that how you say his name?
I think so. How have you been saying it?
I thought it was like Corin Sweet. I have never in my mind, but I've never heard him say it.
This whole time I've been calling her Crandall.
I'm making an idiot out of myself. I think you are quite correct. I've just been misreading his name.
But now you have me second guessing myself. So
I'm fairly sure you are correct.
We'll take those. Fairly up and comer. He's been in some TV shows. I think I first learned of him from Pearl.
Yeah.
We both said Pearl. Where he is way off type and not much like Clark Kent. Instead, he is a kind of seedy projectionist showing Mia Goth stag films.
Yeah.
And it took me, when I first heard, David Cornsweet is Superman, I wasn't like, the guy from Pearl. It took someone pointing that out for me to be like, him? Because he does a good job chameleoning between those roles, and you would never guess he played some predatory projectionist from how wholesome he comes off here. He is even when I wasn't in love with this movie, it was still hard to deny that he's a complete home run as Clark Kent.
Yeah, owing to just the general, I think it's the first time Superman has been written in like a really no, that's not true. Christopher Reeve, I think, was written well, but the first time in a long while that he has been written as a sort of semi-goofy, the Boy Scout image where he's like, gosh darn it. That's like just little touches with just the language and the dialogue and the way he said certain things. I thought was very refreshing to see, particularly after the more sort of moody Henry Cavill years, where he always just seemed very troubled by everything. Which I guess that was the plot of the movie. I think Henry Cavill was pretty good, but
I was gonna say, are we both? Even though we both, we're not Snyder bros, but are we slight Man of Steel apologists on the same page? There are bits of that movie I'm not going to act like it's not deeply flawed. There are bits of that movie I like.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I think I've only ever watched it maybe twice. Mm-hmm. One of those when it first came out, and then one sort of half paying attention years later. So I'm not hugely up on it. And I remember more about his Superman from Batman versus Superman, because that was a horrible experience that's been ingrained into my...
That's where you lose me, to be clear. I'm not gonna...
Yeah. And I think it's kind of a shame, because Man of Steel, I remember being a pretty solid film overall.
Right.
And it's all been tainted by what came after it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I thought Superman was used well there. I think it's really just Batman versus Superman that drags down that whole experience for me. Otherwise, I'm fine with the Zack Snyder stuff. I have nothing much against it.
Right. I just thought we'd plug. Yeah, there's bits, and again, it is like what, and I think I saw Man of Steel at like just the right age where I was really primed to be excited for a Superman, kinda no matter what. And I think that there are definitely aspects that are boring and strange. I think that, bits like super young Clark Kent having virtually sensory overload in his classroom is something that very few Superman creators really hone in on. And, of course that does lead to Superman lets Pa Kent die in a tornado, and I'd be like, maybe we should surround that one again. But, I guess this isn't a Man of Steel podcast, but I just thought, and it's good to see, too, that Snyder's kind of a good sport about it. You've got, that Rick and Morty spot. He seems to be really coming around to, hey, I had my time, didn't work out. It happens. There doesn't seem to be bad blood between Snyder and James Gunn the way their fan tribes would like there to be.
Yeah. It's maybe he'll come back and do something else. Maybe they will.
That'd be cool.
Maybe the bridges will be mended between the different factions. But I have to say, I have found the whole the backlash from the Snyder people just incredibly frustrating, because it dominates my algorithm. Whenever I click onto a Superman story, I have to click onto. I get something else forced upon me where it's just someone arguing about the box office budget and talking to Grok about how much the movie has made. I'm like, oh Jesus, let it go. Grok, is this a profit?
Mercy. I would say, for Snyder, the thing about the Snyder Bros is they got the Snyder cut of Justice League, and if I were really digging my heels about that, I would call that the win. Is what kind of confuses me. Is hey, you kind of got what you wanted. Is that not enough of a win?
It's a historic victory. Yeah. No one has ever achieved that before. Go out with dignity on the high of getting exactly what you want.
Take that W. And it is we're not getting a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad that I'm sure exists and is great,
people don't want to come back for that universe anyway. Ben Affleck would rather kill himself than come back and do another Batman film. So just let it go. It benefits nobody. No one is happy about it.
Well, it's really funny that's the truth, but Gal Gadot will you need me on a monitor as Wonder Woman? I'm there. Put me in. Come on, no one else will hire me. Let's go. Shazam 2, you need me to kiss him at the end? Okay, I'm there. Put me in. I'm in the costume. I'm driving over. I'll do anything to not do press for Snow White. Just let me be Wonder Woman for a scene.
Oh dear. It reminds you what an absolute clusterfuck the last couple of films were. I just remember that uncomfortable experience where I was the only man in the theater watching The Flash, and horrific CGI dog being put in a microwave or something like that. What am I doing with my life?
Man, no, I caught that one on streaming because it is just fucking insane that there's a movie called The Flash and it in no way involves just Flash saves people from the Rogues or from Gorilla Grodd. He goes in a portal and he meets his younger self and Batman changes and
Tim Burton's Batman is back. Who's the villain? Is it Captain Cold? No, it's General Zod. What? We've got Michael Shannon's CGI face back.
Certified
all his lines in 2 minutes.
Nicolas Cage like does not know, is in it and like doesn't know. Like,
Oh yeah, and that horrific CGI Henry Cavill at the end. It's like, what's happening?
well,
Such a
okay.
confusing film, but I mean, to compare that to this, like leagues and leagues apart.
Oh, yeah.
It's like The Flash was made by. It feels, The Flash, in retrospect, feels like an AI generated film.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, was that the last DC film? Oh no, it was Aquaman 2, I think, wasn't it?
Aquaman 2, yeah.
Which I haven't seen.
Which is not, you didn't miss a thing. I saw it because my podcast was going to cover it, and I was like, well, I got to keep up to date. Otherwise, I never would. And I might as well have not seen it because it is a absolute nothing movie, frankly. Like a net, like not even a, like I would call Flash a net negative. Aquaman is like the wavelength of my existence stayed like a straight line. Haven't seen that movie. And in some ways that is worse than just sucking. What's this podcast about again? Oh yeah, Superman.
There's important context.
I was gonna say, and it's gonna sound like I'm complaining. I do like this. A lot of David Cornsweet's line deliveries. I think that James Gunn, and again, I think this is a good thing, kind of puts a bit of himself in his protagonists, and you get kind of different flavors of his humor. And I kind of read line deliveries that really reminded me of Star-Lord, and then Peacemaker, and then Superman.
What the hey, dude? I thought you destroyed the whole Superman robots. I thought I told you to keep an eye on him.
And I feel like that's almost kind of a weird evolution of how James Gunn sees himself, because, his public persona has been someone who's, done, made weird, regrettable jokes, has kind of a weird reputation in Hollywood. And I feel like that's where you are with Star-Lord. Then he kind of goes through a faux cancellation PR thing and kind of rises back up. And then that's Peacemaker. And then people are relying on him for a new beginning. And I think that's kind of Superman. And I think he's kind of levying that arc in some ways.
Interesting. Yeah, now that you say it, that does sound likely.
What the hey? That sounded like John Cena to me a little as Peacemaker.
What did you make of the alterations to Clark's Superman's? I'm never sure what to call him. His origin story with the Jor-El change.
Oh, okay. So this is where
invincible. I thought
very invincible and very Dragon Ball, which I know you aren't as familiar with. That's what I thought of before Invincible was kind of Dragon Ball. And this is where I kind of stand up to the podium. This is, I'd say, and I'm going to try and be less grumpy the rest of the episode. I'm trying to get myself on a track where I'm more pleasant to be around. The changes to Jor-El, and by extension Clark's backstory, were kind of the touch of death, where the first time I watched this, I was like, oh, they fucked it. I'm out. No, thank you. And I know that seems very, very sweeping. I just feel, and I think part of it is the heat of the moment it's coming out in, because James and Sean Gunn both took opportunities, I think rightfully and reasonably, to really put an exclamation point and a period and underline on Superman is an immigrant. And I think that's always been the text of the character. He was created by two Jews in the wake of World War II. And I think that by making it so his homeland, at least his home family, is somehow savage and I don't know if savage is even, but didn't have good intentions for where they were sending their child, I think that kind of makes the immigration piece really fall apart. I think that Superman, the beauty, and I'm going back to the well of Zack Snyder. Superman, proudly wears the S on his chest. That's a symbol from hope where I'm from, and I'm bringing it to you because there's not much hope here. And I think that James Gunn kind of changed it up to be the found family narrative that he really, really likes to do. And like, I think it's taking away the wrong idea. And I kind of don't know why that's where they're coming from. Even, I'd say even like purely execution wise, I'd be more okay with it if they weren't bringing like, because they play the big video. Lex Luthor manages to translate it in a way I find kind of convoluted, as Jor-El and I think Lara is Superman's biological mother, bring up specifically talking points of you should take many wives and make a harem and replace mankind as they are, which are so kind of grossly talking points of like jingoist anti-immigration views. And I think if Lex Luthor, like, and this would be a cheap way out, but I'm just saying, for example, if Lex Luthor tampered with the tapes, so they said that would make more sense. He wants to paint the Kryptonians in this like ethnocentric point of view. They want a harem, that kind of like inflammatory thing. But making that the actual intentions of an origin of immigration rings so gross to me in how it like instills fear in the people of Earth.
I'm inclined to agree. I think a better approach probably would have been that Lex Luthor did tamper with the message, and like, because he so easily could have just exploited that, and they could have given him a line where he was like, "Oh, people will, they'll believe whatever they think." It's easy to exploit the masses by just playing up the paranoia of these invading aliens. Like, they'll believe whatever I tell them to.
Right.
If it plays into their own sort of bigotry and blah blah blah, and that would have worked, I think, well enough on its own. And then you could have just had a line at the end where like, "Oh, what did they really say?" And "Oh, we don't know." So it's still like left unknown, but you still get you don't sort of spoil almost those characters or the world of Krypton, or make it this villainous place that you don't necessarily need to do.
Right. Or even, I would even say it'd be really good if Mr. Mr. Terrific leaves zero room for doubt. He's like, there's no way anybody's lying about this. I think it'd be really interesting if maybe he says something to the effect of, yeah, Luthor translated it accurately, but there are so many nuances in language that, like, maybe, leave room to say, like, okay, maybe that's a cultural... I'm having a hard time articulating what I have in mind. But, I think Mr. Terrific being this cool head in the narrative, I think would have been a really good opportunity to be like, well, take a hair... And again, this is like a one-off, like a shitty example off the top of my head. Maybe Mr. Terrific is like, well, maybe take a harem is a cultural idea from Krypton that means something less literal. And it's not great, but Luthor is exploiting the literal word of that cultural idea to instill fear in people. And I think that'd be a more meaningful look at how people react to that kind of thing.
Have you seen the theory that someone posted, which was Jor-El is actually General Zod in disguise? It would be revealed that he faked the message and like intercepted the ship or something.
That'd be... Because James Gunn is doubling down that the message is real. But I guess that doesn't necessarily mean he's doubling down that was Jor-El. I think, as much as I'm complaining, I kind of want them to be like, okay, you've made your bed. Let's just like move on, let's just, I don't want them to dwell on it too. I kind of, as much as I don't like the choice, I kind of respect that James Gunn is like, hey, it is what it is. Like, that's the choice I made. And I personally, I don't necessarily like the choice. I'm a little in a place of like, okay, but like, let's just not fuck with it.
I'm all for... I think you're more invested in this world than I am and have more attachment to the character than I do. So I adopt my usual, well, try something different and see if it works. I would have been probably happier if they hadn't done it, but I'm also open to it could lead to different stuff in the future, and maybe there's more to it, maybe there isn't. But I didn't hate it, and it didn't spoil it for me.
It would that would mean Zod would be played by Check's Notes Bradley Cooper in media res, like just come down to earth, and he is Bradley Cooper, and he's just like Maestro.
He had the mustache.
Humanity, yeah.
Maybe, who knows? I hope we don't get another General Zod film though.
Yeah, I could use a break from Zod. Yeah. I also totally thought, I think just by clocking Bradley Cooper was Jor-El, I thought Superman's biological mother was Daniela Melchior, who was Ratcatcher in Suicide Squad. Partly because she does look like her, and partly because I think my brain was just in a place of, James Gunn's like coterie of actors he relies on, and it wasn't the case, and I was kind of shocked, honestly.
Yeah, I expected all the actors to have been in another James Gunn project before. It's like watching a David Lynch film where I'm like, you've been in something else. I know your face.
You were weird somewhere.
you were weird somewhere else.
David Lynch somehow talked you into like doing a dance in a cigarette room. I don't.
Don't worry, I'll cast you again in Dune.
It is so sad we didn't get like. Do you think James Gunn would be cool enough to be like, all right, David Lynch, Swamp Thing, make it happen?
Maybe I could see David Lynch having a cameo in some sort of James Gunn project. I can't think which character he might have played.
What if he was Glorious Godfrey? I don't know why that's the first thing that pops in my head.
Yeah, maybe. Next on Godfrey's Bonehead list.
Rest in peace, David Lynch. You would have loved Starro. I don't know.
I don't think you would.
And ideas come to us. We don't really create an idea. We just catch them like fish. No chef ever takes credit for making the fish.
On the second viewing of the film, who really, really stood out to me that I just had an easier time so appreciating this time was Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, who just in the more refreshed point of view and not letting all the bullshit bog me down, I thought she was like sensational. I thought she was amazing in this.
Yes, excellent Lois Lane. We've always been, I think, blessed with good Lois Lanes, though. I don't think we've ever really had a terrible Lois Lane.
That's
I did
true.
think she was. I liked Amy Adams quite a lot. I do think this is the finest of our Lois Lanes that we've had.
Oh man, there's something I'd say like biblically accurate about her, where like I feel like there's kind of an urge to like pick someone who feels more modern, whereas they were like, who's the actress that feels the most like she's like a 1950s reporter? And they don't make her act that way, but it is like, oh, Mrs. Maisel. That actually makes a lot of sense.
She'll always be the she'll always be the prostitute. She'll always be the prostitute from House of Cards to me.
I was gonna say I need to watch House of Cards, but it's like, maybe I.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you've missed your window.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. Also, Rachel Brosnahan 1 year older than David Cornsweet, which I think is no small. I think there'd be an urge there to cast someone younger and like. Not seriously. There's like absolutely an alternate universe where it's like, oh, and Sydney Sweeney is like Lois Lane. But it's someone, you know, you don't always get an age-appropriate superhero love interest, let alone blockbuster love interest. And she actually, there is that air that she kind of holds her own and like has a little more innate maturity than Clark that kind of comes through in some of their interactions.
Yeah, they were cast like age-wise very well. You could have. I feel like the standard now is always Tom Holland as Superman because they always want to just get someone in their early 20s. That'll be fine. But when you go for Like they felt more experienced and they felt more mature. The characters in this, it wasn't like they were just starting out. We were already approaching them at a point where their lives had been formulated and they had their sort of personalities in check, and set. Like not set, you know, the character development will surely occur, but it didn't feel like it was the start of their lives. They weren't going through college or just finishing college or that sort of thing. Yeah, it felt more appropriate. I guess I don't want to compare everything back to the Man of Steel Snyderverse, but
good.
I guess they were too. They felt a bit older in those movies. I don't know how old the actors were.
I would bet good money that Henry Cavill and Amy Adams aren't that different in age either.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Yeah,
it's always been. I think that. Yeah, I guess I don't. Yeah, it is kind of. People don't really do. It's always been pretty. I don't know if you would know if Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve were necessarily. They always seemed pretty appropriately like peers as well.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, we probably have, in most incarnations, had them around the same age.
I guess when you
it feels like a rare thing nowadays, though. It does feel like it's unusual. Like I feel like us commenting on it is a sign that it's not always the done thing.
Well, and I guess like Arpats and Zoe Kravitz, I'm not going to look up right this second. I guess they have a solid decade between them or so, like just off the top of my head. Not to say I dislike that movie or anything, but just as like a contemporary example.
Yeah, I am gonna look it up because I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess because Zoe Kravitz is young. She's probably like 20.
You are incorrect, sir. She is the same age as me.
Really? I thought she was my age. Okay. That's interesting.
36.
Wow, really?
Yeah, there you go.
I guess she is a tiny woman. I guess I was just underestimating.
She does look a lot younger than that.
Yeah. And then Arpats is probably like 38.
He's 39, in fact. So yeah, not too much of a
score. Slam dunk that one. All right.
Well done.
Oh, all right. So I think that, man, lost my train of thought a little. Now that you mention it too, it is kind of, and part of it is that James Gunn is bringing in Nathan Fillion, who's 56, and what's the guy who plays Metamorpho, who's also a little older and has a kid. And again, it is refreshing to see like. Anthony Carrigan, thank you. Yes, and it's refreshing to see like we're introducing this character and he has a kid and a family, and we don't have to go through those steps. I think the youngest like fighter character, like superhero character in this would be Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl, who I think she's only like 24, and I was pretty shocked to find that. You might, and I really like the memes people are making of like. Coworkers is crazy. You'll show up to work and be like, "Where's Guy Gardner?" as a 24-year-old. The Justice Gang in this is so fucking cool as well. I really fell in love with them. Again, especially on second viewing. I thought they had. Even though, they didn't all... Compared to Mr. Terrific, kind of a show stealer, but I thought they all had really good beats and, like, bits of chemistry.
They were all show stealers, I think. That was... to their credit, like, every character there stood out. They could have easily just ended up with a movie where Mr. Terrific was the standout and the other two were just boring. But everybody there was great.
Well, my friends were giving me... If they're listening, I hope they're listening. My friends were giving me such a hard time about how much I really liked Hawk Girl, even though she kind of had the least to do of the three. But it's like they gave her a lot of aura. They gave her moments. I thought she did a really cool job.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought she was used. She definitely gets the least to do and the least development, I guess. But I think they did a lot with a little. With both her and Guy Gardner just gets by on Nathan Fillion's aura and his general comedy moments. But she gets plenty of good moments as well. I think dropping Benjamin Netanyahu from the sky to his death.
Certifiably insane kill towards the end of the movie that they pull off really well. So I don't know if you know this, she was the live action Dora the Explorer, is kind of her claim to fame. And then she kind of had I'm really happy about her career arc. She kind of was feeling out different superheroes. She was one of the 3 Spider Women in Madam Web, and then she's the pregnant girl in Alien Romulus. So she has all these kind of weird false starts, and I'm really happy she has like a home here as Hawkgirl as well. And she's in Peacemaker season 2. We know that she was in a trailer, so I'm happy we're going to see more of her, and I'm happy that she kind of has like a good resting spot with that in mind. And she's she's a little bit, and outside the fact that she is not unattractive in the least, it is like kind of my dark horse favorite. Guy Gardner being a character in comics and cartoons that I love, and like he's not like, if you ask me to name my top 5 DC characters, I don't know if he's like who I would immediately pull out of my pocket, but every time he pops up, I'm like, this guy, I love him every time. And this is one of the best adaptations of him, I believe.
I think it was Batman Brave and the Bold that sort of first brought him to my attention. He's just a fantastic jerk character who steals the show every time he turns up, and they used him loads in that show. So as soon as I saw like Nathan Fillion with that stupid haircut, I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was very excited to see him used over one of the other ostensibly cooler, hipper Green Lanterns. They go with the sort of jerk with the bad haircut over the traditional ones, which I thought was a great choice.
It is totally a movie about Superman kind of winning over the superheroes who have kind of sold out, and Guy Gardner is like perfect for that narrative.
Yeah, with the movie's best lines, I would say. Just one after. Don't be such a wuss.
So he's Clark Kent. Oh god damn it.
He is what does he say? Like he is of the cloth. And she's like, what the hell? And he just like holds up his uniform. Just really great. My what? My what is a what?
He has something. She says you have a lame, Lois Lane makes fun of his haircut. And he says something like, I know specifically 436 babes that say otherwise. It's like, wait, what does that mean? I'm assuming that's like a social media joke. Like he got 436 likes on a selfie or something.
Oh, is that? Yeah, that would make sense.
That's my best guess. And I like this weird specificity. I'm not complaining. But it is like, what?
Absolutely something I would also say. So
yeah.
Definitely my favorite character, I think, in the movie. But Mr. Terrific was also excellent. Like another character I didn't know too much about, and I think I knew him from Brave and the Bold. Just tremendous all the way through. They give him obviously more focus than the other two, and he's pretty pivotally involved in the plot and helping Lois to rescue Superman and such. But just an excellent performance.
He's, as people call him, Mr. Horror, because he is just like constantly and he is he's kind of a subversion of the man in the chair, where I think there are versions of this character that are stuck at headquarters, but he just like hovers into space with his literal like chair, I suppose. Played by Eddie Gadecki. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Who kind of like Hawkgirl again has had like a really has been in the superhero genre for a long time. He is the famously fridged Darwin character from X-Men First Class, who his whole thing was nothing could kill him, and then Kevin Bacon killed him, and people were really indignant about that for a long time because he was, I think, one of, if not the principal black character in that cast, and they just like shaft him immediately with like bullshit memes. And a movie that I like, honestly, to be clear.
Milkbone is there for every. Come here, boy. For every. You want a treat?
Yeah! Yeah!
Crypto, home. For every good boy. For Superman's best friend. Treat your dog like a superhero with Milkbone. And don't miss Superman in theaters July 11th.
In keeping with Toonami tradition, we've changed the lineup, trying to keep it fresh.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't count me out, I'm just getting started!
I guess, does this bring us to Lex Luthor? Are we ready to breach that?
Yeah.
Oh man, gosh, where to begin? So this is Lex Luthor played by Nicholas Hoult, who you may know as Nox in Mad Max Fury Road or Beast in some of the reboot X-Men movies. I thought this casting choice was a slam dunk because he does, he has a mania to him as well as an intellectualism. I think you could take a little of his character from The Menu, kind of the snobbish side, and put it with like Nux and Beast and make a really interesting intellectual but unhinged villain. And I think in broad strokes, for the most part, they did pull it off. Coming from somewhere where Lex Luthor is my favorite villain ever, there's just a small something keeping me from like fully imprinting on him.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I thought he was very solid and like undoubtedly the best Lex Luthor we've had. I haven't watched every version of Lex Luthor, I should say, but in terms of the one
in live action. In movies,
yeah.
Because I was like, if you're saying he's better than Clancy Brown, I would have to.
I would still rank both Clancy Brown and Michael Rosenbaum ahead of Nicholas Hoult, but I think in terms of movies, Nicholas Hoult is the sort of quintessential one.
I have a real soft spot for Gene Hackman, even though he's maybe not like he's not maybe the most accurate Lex, but I think for that era, it was a very appropriately adapted Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's the high point of those films.
Yeah,
I do love Hackman. And you know what? I'll say I thought Kevin Spacey was all right.
Yeah, let's.
He's Kevin
We're opening the floodgates. Turn off the prompter. I'm speaking from the heart.
Let me be Lex.
Instead of carving a big turkey, he's got like a big kryptonite.
Now you might hear things about me in kryptonite. I can assure you none of it is true.
Oh my god!
He's doing a Gene Hackman impersonation, really, isn't he? And he's also
because it's supposed to be this. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. Sorry.
No, I was going to say the same thing. It's meant to be the same continuity, isn't it?
It's the same actor. I don't know if it's the same guy.
It's just it's a very weird setup that they had with Superman Returns. But I thought he was all right. But then we come to Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor, which is horrendous. Just awful misfire.
Oh no. Yeah, well, and I think there's like a strand of DNA in that Luthor that kind of leads us to this one, even though this one is miles better, in that both of them are kind of aping the modern tech billionaire, whereas Eisenberg was kind of an older, kind of a earlier 2010s idea of like Zuckerberg, I guess, a little bit, right down to the actor choice. And then as we see that develop here to a more maniacal, kind of Elon Musk, kind of Jeff Bezos figure. And that kind of brings me to my core hypothesis of the character and why he isn't like quite the charismatic supervillain I wanted him to be, is that I think we're just in a place where we don't want our billionaire villains to be compelling in any way. And I think that James Gunn just really wanted to have his lunch out of vilifying and thoroughly humiliating a character that people can imprint Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or Bezos or Trump onto, which I am all for, to be clear. But I don't get the... Like, again, I talk and maybe it's apples and oranges because this is a very different version, but the Clancy Brown Lex Luthor, you know, he was a 1%er and despicable and manipulative in his own right. He was deeply charismatic and, intelligent. He was capable of the odd crash out here and there, but, like at Fan Expo, I actually met one of the head writers of the Justice League cartoon. He just had a table there. And I asked him, and I'm going to put his name up here on the screen because there was a couple writers there, and I feel kind of bad about blanking which one I specifically spoke to, who was super nice enough to indulge my questions about my favorite cartoon ever. And I asked him, in that huge cast of characters, who were your favorites to write? And he quickly said, it was the villains really more than the heroes. And I said, and it's got to be Lex Luthor, right? He's like, oh, especially with Clancy Brown, it was like effortless to make that character compelling from a writing standpoint. And I do not think anyone writing this movie had anywhere near that affection for this Lex Luthor. And I can't blame them because we're not in a place where we want to write, compelling self-made millionaires. It might be in poor taste to make that anything but vile and hateable. But it did take a toll on my my affection for who's generally, one of my favorite villains ever.
I know what you mean. He's not very charming.
No.
He's very he's a very loathable character in this. He doesn't really have any positive traits, and he's not really affable or courting sort of a good public image. He makes one appearance on that chat show, and he's still kind of slimy on there. Like, he's not really he comes across as, like you say, more of an Elon Musk sort of slimy type who's trying to just exploit people, rather than, I guess that is kind of Lex Luthor, but Lex Luthor always presents himself with that veneer of respectability, where if you saw Lex Luthor, you'd be like, hey, Lex Luthor seems like a pretty cool guy. And I feel like if you saw Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor, you'd be like, oh, what a creep. Whereas Clancy Brown Lex Luthor would like talk you around, and there's a reason he was voted president.
Yeah. And again, it's germane to where we are, because the frustrating thing about living in the nation we do is that the people manipulating us can't even bother to be charismatic anymore, and you just have Elon Musk jumping around like a dipshit. And so I think there's truth to that. Yeah, sorry.
I was also going to say, I think the thing for me that maybe felt a bit off is that Luthor always appears to be older than Superman. And he did look young. I don't think Nicholas Hoult and David Cornswet are particularly different in years, but I think my concept of Lex Luthor is that he's always older, and he's maybe a bit more mature, and he's got a bit more world experience than Superman has. So he always sort of comes from this position of authority, almost. And they're more on the same level. We always joke about it being Mark Strong just because he's bald. But I do always imagine it being someone maybe 10 years older.
Right. Well, and I think that there's also something, even if he is the same age as Superman, there is something I think the best thing you can do with a billionaire character is have them be like, yeah, I'm only 30. And you're like, what? How stressed out are you? You're bald. What do you mean? Oh man, I lost my train of thought again. I'm sorry. And like we don't get like most versions of Luthor, you get an idea that he has like expensive taste, I suppose. Like again, like Hackman Luthor, you see this like cartoonishly lavish villa where he has like a big hot tub and a big model of a country he's gonna take over and put his fucking name on. I don't know what this Luthor does in his downtime. The way Clancy Brown Luthor, I can imagine with like a bit of champagne, and he's like kind of a cool motherfucker, you know?
You're right. A cool office would have done wonders.
Yeah.
Like a really classy office. But we only ever see him in that like little box room, where that Superman kicks the door down off. He has his name on mugs. That's about as extravagant as his wealth gets. Yeah.
He's just a dog. I don't know what dog you're talking about. Welcome, dog. Okay. What did you say?
There's really, again, in broad strokes, he does things really well. It's like, it's hard to imagine this Luthor being like the leader of a Legion of Doom. I think any other supervillain would be insulted by him.
I think it's a good place to start with him.
Yeah.
I think you could easily do like the Lex Luthor president arc in the next film, or like maybe just do a Lex Luthor series about him getting out of prison or something and forming the Legion of Doom, and that's his arc is to take over. And I think you could do
really
a lot
like
with
to
him.
see that. Yeah, like ingratiating him, like he's locked in a cell with like I don't know, Blockbuster, and then like next time you see him, Blockbuster is like doing his bidding head to toe. It's like, oh, that'd be a good way to clear up where he stands in that.
Kelsey Grammer Ultra Humanite is the way to go.
Oh yeah, there we go. They'll call him and they'll be like, "Is it a costume? No, I'll CGI. Okay, I'll do it."
Yeah, there you go. Kelsey Grammer Gorilla Garage or something.
Well, we know. I think it's been reported that they're introducing Gorilla Grodd in the Jimmy Olsen series.
Oh, okay. Does that bring us on to Jimmy Olsen?
That would kind of neatly take us to Jimmy Olsen and Eve Tessmacher, who were also kind of weird in this. And I also don't know if with all of my feelings changing, I don't know if like Rizmaster fuck machine Jimmy Olsen is still necessarily my cup of tea. That's still a little weird to me.
I kind of liked that it was just turning. People usually expect Jimmy Olsen to be a bit of a nerd. Like traditionally, he's always drawn with his sort of geeky look and his big glasses, and like certainly when the character was first conceived, I think he's been different in other interpretations recently. But it seemed like a response to that to go, well, what if Jimmy Olsen was actually the coolest guy in the city? Non-stop seducing women, and he was irresistible to everyone. I kept thinking that
was seducing them on accident, because he seems to be a little overwhelmed.
It was like, I thought they were going to go in some weird direction. Like he had made some sort of Faustian pact with,
God. Okay,
one of the gods to be irresistible to women, and that's going to be his backstory in the series or something.
I can see, like, I don't know, he snuck a potion or what. I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, I could see it being some sort of plot point in the future, but maybe it will just be, it's just a gag. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much about it.
Yeah. I think it is like, it is a little like, it's hard to pretend that like a guy like Jimmy Olsen, and it is the kind of thing where it's like a little bit of the imaginary origin syndrome, where I kind of imagine an initial movie where Clark and Jimmy meet, and Jimmy is kind of, whistless, and like, Clark teaches him a thing or two about just like, holding his head up high. But and kind of taking it back to Corn Sweat, I do notice a really different characterization between his Clark and his Superman. When he has the glasses on, he's behaving super, super differently. And I can kind of imagine that he takes notice of Jimmy being similarly down on himself and is like, takes him under his wing a little to be like, well, Superman would be a little more like this. And I don't know, that's just the imaginary prequel to this movie that is a little fun to imagine.
Yeah, it does feel like you could have done a lot with Clark meeting all of those characters.
Mm-hmm. In addition, meeting, what did you make of this film's Tessmacher, who is romantically involved, if one-sided, with Jimmy Olsen? She is played by, I think her name is Sarah Sampillo, and she's more imagined to be an influencer type. I made no secret that I was heartbroken that the rumor was that Madison Beer, one of my favorite people ever, read for this part and was not picked. I think if she were Tessmacher and throwing herself at nerdy men, I would have raised this movie a full star. I say jokingly.
Yeah, she was fine. I didn't. Tessmacher's a weird character because I always confuse her with Mercy, and I always sort of merge the two in my head. And I think that going in, I'd almost confused myself that she was going to be Mercy, because I thought Tessmacher was the longer version of Mercy's name or something. I can't remember what my logic was. I think I just thought that Tessmacher was like somebody they created for the Christopher Reeve films.
Yes.
Was she? Have I imagined that, or was she a comics character first?
To my knowledge, she was created for the Christopher Reeve film, and since that, and like kind of didn't really break out in the same way, say, Harley Quinn did. And then when Joker had Harley Quinn, I think they made Mercy and kind of forget Lex ever had Tessmacher. And then I think gradually it just kind of was like, what if we had a Mercy who didn't necessarily like kick ass and was a little more like vulnerable and could show that side of Lex, who he kind of... Because I think the problem with Mercy was she was so competent that you couldn't paint Lex as overly domineering toward her, even though I think there were easier avenues of being able to like in that Tessmacher, I think, is more textually romantically involved with Lex in a way Mercy isn't always. So it was this weird balancing act of having their cake and eating it too. So I don't blame you for the confusion one bit.
He gets other henchmen in this as well, though.
We had Otis.
Otis. Is Otis in this film? Did I miss?
He is. He's the bigger black fellow in the lab.
Oh, I didn't realize that was meant to be him.
You only learn like right at the end. I think Lex calls him Otis.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I did not pick up on that whatsoever.
Which I think is the broader statement of our film, is that I think seeing it twice is almost a bit necessary, because there are details that I was able to more thoroughly savor with that in mind.
I mean, I said this to you, one of the inexplicable character moments for me was Perry Wright only appears 5 minutes before the end of the film.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really bizarre. I was like, did I miss him at the start?
Yeah,
but they
exactly.
really do. He shows up, boards a spaceship, and that's it. They don't really even properly introduce him. It's very odd.
For better, they like kind of scoot through Daily Planet super fast. And I think some of my favorite comics are just like learning how Clark fits into Daily, and they do a good job kind of swooping through. You got Beck Bennett, who's always hilarious as Steve. I always want to call him Steve Harrington, but I don't think that's his name. It's Steve
That's
something.
the Stranger Things character, I think. Steve
Right.
Harrington.
Sorry, my bad. It's Steve something. I know he's the sports writer of Daily Planet, and Michaela Hoover is Cat Grant, who is kind of a low-key favorite of mine. I think thanks in no small part to CW Supergirl kind of reinventing her in a slightly different way. It was really, and I wouldn't say they steal the show per se, but they have really, I felt an understanding of those characters beyond one's the sports writer and one's the fashion writer. And they get to, join in on, they have funny moments. And Perry, I agree, was like weirdly shoehorned in at the very end. I'd be shocked if there isn't a deleted scene of him like early on somewhere. But I did really love how like severely 1950 he's chomping a big cigar. Don't call me chief, kid. Like that is kind of a very distilled, quintessential Perry White for those last few minutes.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I like Wendell Pierce, who plays him, who I've known him since he was in The Wire.
Oh, okay.
As
I thought
Bond.
he was familiar.
And my main frame of reference for him at the moment, and I can't stop thinking about it every time I see him now, is there's a clip from the premiere of some sort of film in the UK, and someone is announcing that Wendell Pierce has arrived. But with their British accent, it sounds as though they are shouting, "It's Wendell Piss." And what you just hear in the distance, "It's Wendell Piss!" And tragically, that now pops into my head whenever I see him.
Congressman Gary, it's Wendell Pierce!
You mentioned Lex Luthor's minions, and somehow we talked about Cap Grant and Perry White, and none of his actual minions.
Oh yeah,
because he's got the engineer, who's very Mercy-esque as well. And she's there. I have to admit, I didn't find her as in a huge cast of characters. She gets a little lost, unfortunately, which is only a shame because Superman has so many great villains. And I think if they just put a little more oomph into making that Metallo or Parasite, it might have been a little more memorable, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess you want to save some of the big ones for the sequel.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was just there as henchman, to the point where I thought, oh, is that a character from the comics, or have they just made that character up? Because I couldn't remember ever seeing that character before.
She has maybe my least favorite line of dialogue in the movie.
Very clunky.
Because I think we begrudged, regardless of where we agreed or disagreed, we had begrudged a lot of exposition-y dialogue in this. And I think there's a point where she's like, I hate him too, Lex. I've sacrificed my humanity to destroy him.
Yes.
Lex, I imagine just being like, yeah, I know. I did know that's an odd thing to say.
Yeah, I was responsible for that. I recruited you for that exact reason. You don't need to say that. It's so weird.
Like you say that to me every day, like you expect me to forget, and like.
Yeah, it's very odd. And then she didn't explain why. Why don't you talk about why you did that rather than just state why? Because it added absolutely nothing to that scene as well, because that scene already had a lot of stuff going on. It's a very strange choice.
You could easily assume Lex Luthor is like just has a ton of money, and anyone could be convinced with enough money to forsake their humanity and become the engineer, whatever that may mean.
Yeah, you could have thrown in any line of dialogue there, like about why she dislikes Superman.
Because, and you know, I think that kind of comes back to again, this comes a lot back to this movie having an imaginary prior installment. We hear a lot, and I'm not going to say they don't tell us why Lex hates Superman, because they do. Yeah. But it does feel like something of an afterthought. Like, I feel like we're beat over the head with how severely he fucking hates Superman. And again, I'm not going to accuse them of not explaining why, because he has that pretty good line of, it's not a man, it's an it. But beyond that, it's much more showing as opposed to telling, which would be good. But I was like, I could do with a little more telling, I almost feel like.
I did love Lex's enormous just ranting speech at the end. I thought that was some of the finest. I also really liked how they didn't just immediately go for let's put Lex Luthor into one of these suits and have him fight Superman.
Yeah.
They were like, let's have Lex Luthor try and do something intelligent to beat Superman, which I guess brings us to Ultraman. But I did love the workaround where Lex Luthor was just controlling Ultraman. Like, he was throwing the punches for all intents and purposes, and I liked that.
Yeah.
That was how they did that final fight. I thought that was good.
Absolutely. Which also kind of leaves room for Superman is so high above Lex that he bumps into him is the extent of their physical confrontation, and then Crypto kind of goes to town and really puts him in his place. And I think that's kind of the statement is like, if Clark touched you, you'd be dead. And really, it's not even worth it.
Yeah.
Ultraman, and something I was also kind of rolling my eyes about, but I did learn better about, because like I pretty much knew Ultraman was a clone of Superman, more or less, and I kind of figured they made that a little obvious because he has all the same powers and he's masked, and I was kind of like, why are we like dancing around that this is a clone of Superman? Like, the reveal couldn't be anything else. And what I started to make up in my head, I was like, oh God, what if they take off the mask and what they're actually hiding is that it's Henry Cavill? And I was like fully expecting that. And of course, I think you pointed out to me, like, you didn't realize who Ultraman was. And I was like,
no.
All right, well, not everyone is as Superman pilled as me, so maybe it's not as egregious as I thought.
I mean, even when the mask came off, I thought, oh, it's Bizarro. Like, I had no knowledge of who Ultraman was.
But there's so many duplicate Supermans that it's easy to fold them together, yeah.
Who is I kept thinking he was a completely separate character.
There's Cyborg Superman.
Like there was a villain in my head, maybe not even a villain, but from an episode of Justice League, and I can't remember what the character was called, but I thought he was someone else, like a big, like silver guy with just two eyes. Does that sound familiar?
Most characters have two eyes, I should point out,
but like no other features.
Amazo.
Amazo. I thought he was Amazo.
Yeah. That would that's fair. That would be a little cool. And I could see, because Amazo's whole thing, is copying superheroes' powers. So that would make a lot of sense, yeah.
So I spent the whole movie thinking it was Amazo. Couldn't remember the name of the character, but I thought it was that character from that episode of Justice League that I remember.
Right. That's actually, I could see that, yeah.
Yes, I was surprised by the clone reveal then in that case. So yeah, and I did genuinely think, oh, it's Bizarro. That was he's the clone that I relate to. So I wonder, will they combine Ultraman and Bizarro, do you think? Now that
I could see that, because ostensibly he's maybe dead, but seems to have in the pocket dimension, he gets kind of swept away. And it looks like he could have gone into a portal, and maybe he winds up in another dimension that he makes Bizarro World. I could see that being an avenue they go down. We got that. And there's, breadcrumbs of all different corners of the DC universe here and there. We're going to get more Justice Gang. Lex is going to Bell Rev, where, as we discussed, we're probably going to get some villainous alliances there.
Yeah, I wonder what are your predictions for a Superman 2?
Well, we are actually, so that kind of springboards us that a year from now we'll be discussing Supergirl.
Yes.
Because that is teased at the end. Millie Alcock makes her appearance as Kara. When I first heard that casting choice, I was deeply skeptical. Sorry. Unsure. My tongue is not working. Because I was like, that porcelain doll from House of the Dragon. But she actually looks really good in the costume and is really selling the persona they're giving her.
Yeah, very, very excited to see her movie. I liked the brief glimpse we get of her in this.
I'm deeply attached to Melissa Benoist as Supergirl, but it's just, that's over. It's not going to happen again, outside of maybe a cute cameo or something. And B, to be fair, that Supergirl is I think that they achieve amazing things in how they write that character, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't want to make it, because a lot of people would point out, well, the Melissa Supergirl is just a female Clark. And I would fight against that statement and hold it simultaneously true that this Supergirl, the new one they're going with, is kind of etching her own different faithfulness to the comics that I think bodes very well.
Do we know who the villain of the
I'm glad you asked. It is Jason Momoa as Lobo.
Is he confirmed as the villain, or is he just a character in the film?
I have to. He's a character in the film. I have to imagine he's one of the main obstacles. I guess maybe he could be something of a. It would be really funny if they have a really brutal fight and then just like hang out after, like they just do that every day.
She seems the type to like maybe get on with Lobo, given what we know about the character.
I kind of figured like, oh, he must be the villain, and then like I could imagine that they just like same time next week. All right,
yeah, because Lobo's sort of a like chaotic, neutral character usually, isn't he? It just comes along and just causes absolute carnage, and then but doesn't do it with any malice.
No, yeah. I love the Jason Momoa choice. You mentioned once that Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be a great Lobo, and I'm mourning that a little bit. But Jason Momoa, I think, is going to do an amazing job.
Yeah, he's got exactly the right look for it. Like, you don't have to do much with him; just paint him white, and he's fine.
Yeah, he is Lobo, basically.
He's got that very gruff, sort of Lobo-sounding voice. So yeah, perfect casting, really. No one could object to that.
My big concern is that this Supergirl movie is being directed by Craig Gillespie, who I'm going to check my notes here. Directed Cruella, which I'm a little like,
okay. I thought Cruella was fine. I had nothing against Cruella. What else has he done?
You have nicer things to say than I do.
Has he done anything worse than Cruella?
Let's see. I mean, I personally feel you can go nowhere but up from Cruella, but I'm going to stop being mean. Well, he did I, Tonya, which is a good movie.
Okay.
And Lars and the Real Girl, which is movie about Ryan Gosling being kind of a weird incel. So, peaks and valleys.
Okay.
I think I, Tonya is like the best blueprint we could go from, probably. Not to say I want the exact, but I think that's like the thing that bodes best.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I, Tonya and Cruella, they're a decent mix of filmography, I think, before you go into Supergirl. I'm happy with that. I can make my peace with that.
We can live with that. Oh boy. And then Superman 2, which you asked earlier. I think because James Gunn has promised a lot, I wouldn't be surprised if some of his plans have changed. He's promised an Amanda Waller series before a Lex Luthor series, which strikes me as a bit demented, but if she's in charge of Belle Rev, that could be two birds, one stone. That could be a series about Luthor getting really close to her the way he does in Justice League. Although that, again, as I described that sounds more like a Luthor show than a Waller show, where she has the autonomy. So I don't know. Any number of things could change in that production. I think Superman 2... I think my prediction is that this one would more narratively resemble Man of Steel or the Christopher Reeve Superman 2, not necessarily involving Zod, but having Superman reckon with his origins from Krypton a little more directly. I guess I could see the events of Supergirl somehow getting the attention of Brainiac, because that's a character she's very closely associated with, and that takes him to Earth. And I think that could be Superman 2.
That's probably a good call, yeah. We haven't really had a live action... We've had live action Brainiac in TV, but never in movies before.
Yeah,
So I feel like
and I think...
avenue to explore.
at that avenue, it's like either Zod invades or Brainiac invades, and Zod's been done twice. Let's give Brainiac a one.
Yeah, and you can do Brainiac and Luthor team up shenanigans then, which could be interesting.
Which could lead to, and then I think Brainiac is often also Legion of Doom associated, at least in cartoons and stuff. And I could see that, maybe he provides some resources Luthor needs to get the attention of Gorilla Grodd, who's been introduced in the Jimmy Olsen shows for some reason. And I don't know who else, a villain from Peacemaker. There's rumors of a Mr. Terrific spinoff, because I think he's really impressed people in a way they didn't anticipate. I don't even know who a Mr. Terrific villain would be. Mr. Horrific.
Mr. Horrific. Mr. Boring or something like. Yeah.
I guess and I guess my closing thoughts on this film, I don't know if you're ready to my thesis would be that I watched it on the opening Thursday. I was grumpy about it. I logged onto my Twitter, and even not loving that movie, I was loving every bit of fan art I saw. And admitting to myself that even if the movie made me a little upset, it made me really happy to see people come around to loving Superman in a way that isn't cynical or subversive. As far back as Man of Steel starting to come out, I remember thinking out loud, I just want this to be good. I want Superman to have a good reputation again outside of, he's the boring one.
Yeah.
And this movie was so, for all the problems I had with it, it was hard not to really well up at seeing people, people were saying this is Barbie for men, and it's giving such a role model of a positive masculinity that it was really hard to dismiss. And I think all of that came together for me to be give this another go with a more positive outlook. And I'm popping out the other side way more positive. And I think if I didn't have complaints about this movie, it would be out of not caring. It's because I love Superman so much that I am critical of bits of it, because I want it to be the best it can be. And I'm ultimately feeling a proponent to this new DC universe.
Yeah, we said before I had a different reaction to you, because I was very positive when I first saw it. It didn't blow me away, and it's not going to top any of my top comic book movies ever or anything like that. But I think a very solid effort from the very reliable James Gunn. Kind of busy in parts, maybe some clunky dialogue, like we said. It did feel like they really wanted to get everything in there. But for the most part, I very much enjoyed it. Very, very well cast. Very positive, very just optimistic, feel-good movie. Great soundtrack, as is the norm with James Gunn, but I have had...
King of that punk rocker on my playlist since then.
Yeah, same. And the Mr. Terrific song, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head now.
Fun. Yeah, it's like the Beach Boys.
Yeah, that was stuck in my head for ages as well. So, very, very, very nice watch, and made me optimistic for the future of the new DC cinematic universe. A shout out to, we forgot to mention him, the Peacemaker cameo as well.
we got Peacemaker season 2 coming next month to see where that takes us. And that was, I'd say, the best spot for a because I think part of my cynicism with superheroes is okay, who's going to fucking cameo in this one? What old person are they going to make dress up for it? And then it's probably the best thing they could have done.
Yeah, and it's just 2 seconds, and it's funny because the whole my entire screening laughed. It was it was the biggest laugh of the film. Everyone just really enjoyed that little moment.
Well, it works. It works so well too, because I think even if you maybe aren't in the loop of who Peacemaker is, it's really funny just to see like a Tucker Carlson type smash cut to John Cena in that ridiculous outfit, and like it kind of tells, oh, this is kind of a nut job who would be on this show. Like it works on that level.
Yeah, even if you, if you have no idea who that character is, it's still a funny moment. So
yeah.
Tremendous. And to its credit, you know what? To come back to Fantastic Four, no cameos from anybody in Fantastic Four, and 0 attempts to link it to the wider Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I don't mean to second guess you. I hear, and I was happy about this because it felt more like I hear the actors from like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four have some cameo, but like it's not as. Which I'm kind of happy about, because I think they kind of deserved some dues. Like, they had a hard like, I feel differently about that as opposed to, I don't know, cut Patrick Stewart another fucking check. You know?
He wheels in again. God.
I got my screening for that in a couple of hours, and I'm feeling actually pretty optimistic. A lot of people really like it, so... You know what? Maybe the age of being depressed about superheroes is over, and we can just be punk rockers who are optimistic. Except Doomsday sounds like a fucking disaster.
I was just about to say, once we get past Doomsday, maybe.
Every actor who's working on that movie is like, the script isn't done, but we're filming, and the Russo brothers are like running in circles with their heads cut off.
Yeah, it doesn't fill me with great optimism. But this is the first Marvel movie I have watched since that god-awful Thor sequel I saw a few years ago. And my enthusiasm at the moment has been semi-restored for comic book movies in general, and I think that is owing to my double whammy of Superman and Fantastic Four this month. So they worked on me. This reset has worked on me for now. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
There we go. All right. Well, we'll send you off. Stay punk rock, viewers.
Continue.